Welcome to the Business Sales and Acquisitions Podcast. This show is built around real conversations with people who have either bought or sold a business. In each episode, we go into what really happened, what was harder than expected, and ultimately what that person would do if they had to do it all over again. The goal of this podcast is to provide some insights to people who are either in the market to buy a business or thinking about selling their current one. With that being said, let's get into today's episode.
Today we're here with Everett Cook, who after 15 years of running his own law practice decided he wanted to diversify, and he purchased a local bar here in Philadelphia, PA. The bar is called the Shipyard, and we're here today. So thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So just to get started, what was your motivation to, buy this business or a business?
I'm a raging alcoholic. No. Well, it was during COVID, and the law practice always made plenty of money for me. It wasn't a problem. And during COVID, the law practice disappeared for about a year because the courts were closed. They do a lot of bankruptcy. There was no need for bankruptcy work for 6-9 months because everyone was getting free money, no foreclosures. Anyway, so I had a couple good months about 2 years into COVID, and I had some extra cash. The two motivations probably were, one, that for the first time I couldn't entirely rely on the law practice to make money on a regular basis. So you're like, gee, it would be smart to get something else.
Yeah.
And two, this place was for sale. It was closed for about 2 years, and it was an older couple that ran it, and they ran an older person's smoking bar that closed up at 10 o'clock, and it needed a lot of work, but I saw it. I'm like, gee, I could probably put some elbow grease into this place and fix it up and, get the young people back out to this bar and make some money. So it was diversification, absolutely. Second revenue stream. That was really what it was.
Did you know you wanted to have a bar specifically, or did that just kind of like check the boxes?
Yeah, so I put myself through college and law school, working in hotels and restaurants my whole life, so I knew the business, and I really thought with a neighborhood bar in Philly, this is a pretty solid. People come out and drink and eat buffalo wings and watch the Eagles games and what have you, so that's kind of a market that's always going to be there. So I wasn't looking for a bar in particular, but the opportunity came up, and I thought it kind of fit my skill set, so that's why I did. It was not a bad price either during COVID.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and so your search process wasn't specific to bars, but did you have like kind of a box in your head what it definitely wasn't going to be or what you thought it might be, like in terms of a business?
Well, I wanted something that didn't require a lot of time during the day, Monday through Friday, because that's when I'm working as a lawyer. So I wanted something that they needed me, or if I had to be there, that I wouldn't be working two jobs at the same time and not being able to do both of them well.
Yeah.
So the bar business really is not very busy from 10 a.m. until 4 o'clock Monday through Friday, but it is very busy at night, and it's very busy on the weekends when I was available. So that was the other part of it. Also, this was 4 blocks from my house, so I could walk over here and check on it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And, did you change your parameters because you moved, or do you think it would have been the same if you didn't?
Because I moved to Philly?
Philadelphia, yeah.
Well, I think the opportunities would have been different. I lived up in Lehigh Valley, which is much more of I'd call a bedroom community outside of the Bethlehem, East and downtown Allentown areas. But certainly Philadelphia, then it was the 5th largest city. I think it's the 6th largest city now in the country. And I think San Antonio's about to beat us out for next year. But there's a lot of opportunity here in Philadelphia that you're not going to find everywhere else. Plus, I don't know if people listening have ever been to Philly. This is a corner bar kind of city. People come home from work and they socialize here. And it's not just about, people get here getting drunk, but this is, corner bars are the social fabric of Philadelphia. People go to bars after work. People go to bars for games. It's community. It's a community kind of bar.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So then go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, did you look at any other businesses before purchasing this one that really caught your eye, or when you got into due diligence?
Down in Key West, the Littlest Bar was for sale for $900,000, which I seriously considered taking a look at because I love Key West. But that was I kept my eye open for stuff that was for sale. But again, there wasn't a ton of. I wasn't really well heeled as far as down money's concerned. It's not like I could have bought a McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or something that was a proven franchise. This was again, it fit my skill set. I talked to the guy. The price was right. If I could have bought something a little more proven, because corner bars are tough business to make money in. But if I had $1 million cash or $500,000 in the funding to do something different, I probably would have considered it. But in my wheelhouse, I paid $440,000 for this bar, and the owner held $40,000 in a 5-year interest-only note. So I was in the $400,000 price range, basically.
Yep.
And truth is, I went to 13 banks before I got financing for this place. It almost fell through because it was COVID, and bars were closed, and bankers were like, I'm not going to loan you money for a business that isn't open right now. But my bet was that I got a better price because it was in the middle of COVID, bars weren't open. And of course, the bars were going to reopen, and they did pretty shortly after. I think I closed in April of that year, and they opened back up, like with dividers and whatever the heck we were doing back then, about 5 months later.
Yeah. Cool. So what was the deal process like talking to that? So it wasn't open, but did you look at the financials at all? Did you even kind of count that in, or was it more like just asset purchase?
Well, I didn't have a broker involved.
Right.
He had a broker involved. The broker didn't do a damn thing. So it was him and I talking to each other. I think the broker thought this place was never going to sell for that price during COVID.
Yeah,
so we didn't put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. So I was talking to him, and what it boiled down to was I quickly learned he had a price. I'm not selling for less than this period. If you don't like it, too bad. We'll just run it when it comes back up. So that was part of the process, and the other part was he's like, I'm not putting any more money into it, so if it's broken, you're buying it, it's an as-is, here's my base bottom price, and that was it. So the broker didn't really get involved, but he's like, this is what I want. Now, it was only about $50,000 more than I was lowball offering him anyway, and it was about $60,000 less than he listed it for. So it's not like there wasn't a massive swing. This is not that $440,000 is nothing, but the grand scheme of business is
right.
I'm not buying a GM franchise for $440,000.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Well, you said the books too, so we didn't have the books. It was just he showed me a folder that he'd written down in pencil, what he made month to month. For all I knew, he did that the night before. He showed it to me. I don't know.
Walking up to the meeting.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And that's a curious point. So how did you kind of determine what you thought the value was in the business?
Well, I just did math myself, and I said, okay, if I can sell draft beer at $3.50 a pop and mixed drinks at $5 or $6 and shots at $5 to $7, which was about the market, how many people do I have to get to the door on a weekly basis, and is that realistic? And it is. It was, so because he can't show you pictures, I guess, in the podcast, but this place was an absolute nightmare. Like, it needed to be completely gutted. And when I say completely, I mean, I think the walls are the same, although I scuffed them up with a sander to make them look nicer than they were. Otherwise, everything's new in this place.
The bar tops.
Literally, the entire bar was ripped out. I did the ceiling myself. That's how bored I was during COVID. The floor is still the same. I didn't change that. But yeah, just about everything you see in this place is new. The draft system's brand new. That cooler's brand new. The heating system, there was no heating system in here when I bought the place, so that's new. There was no kitchen when I bought it, so that's all brand new. But it needed to be gutted, and you look at it and you go, okay, if I do the math, like how many, if you 2.5 drinks on average per person, and the truth is, it turns out the people we bring in here drink a lot more than 2.5 drinks a lot of it, which is great.
Exceeded expectations.
Well, you're walking home. I didn't realize that being in the bar business before. Like, a lot of the locals will drink 8 to 9 to 12 drinks in here. One, because they drink pretty frequently, and two, they can see their house from the front door.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry as much about the drinking and driving thing.
Yeah. As a more suburban bar.
But if you an Applebee's, outside of Dayton, Ohio, you got to worry about giving people 11 drinks and drive home and kill themselves.
Yeah.
I can watch Frank walk home. He literally from the front window here if he has a couple too many. Or walk him home and come back here. But so just doing the math and saying, okay, what can I do? And if you're like me, and I hope you're not, it's a huge gamble, right? You don't know. And it didn't turn out like I thought it would, but it's going the direction I thought it would. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but you watch the numbers and you're like, well, still got a lot of possibility here, because this neighborhood's getting younger and wealthier. Again, if you don't know Philadelphia, Old City's very expensive. Just north of that is Northern Liberties, which is also very expensive, and just north of that is Fishtown, which is a young, hip. These people like to go out. A lot of them don't have cars, take public transportation, but they want to dine in nice restaurants and drink in nice bars. I sell Surfsides for $8.50 here. Fishtown, they're probably $10 or $12, and they spend it. So we're the next neighborhood up, and you watch the neighborhood getting younger and wealthier, which is what I thought would happen. So you see new people coming in here all the time that look a lot like people who probably came up from Fishtown and bought a cheaper house 10 minutes up the road.
Sure.
So you projected the local trend that you knew.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Literally,
yeah.
my thinking was, and again, if you watch the podcast, you don't know Fishtown. Fishtown, 25 years ago, was an absolute train wreck of a neighborhood here in Philadelphia. It was fun, but it was blue collar and not poor, but blue collar.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I could have bought a bar back there 25 years ago, probably for $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, inflation, what have you, but it would have been half the price or less than half the price of this place. Those bars are worth millions now.
Wow.
The ones on Frankfurt Avenue, literally, they probably couldn't buy one of those for less than $2.5 million would be my assumption in Fishtown.
Sure.
And the big ones, like Johnny Brenda's garage, probably would sell for $5 or $6 or $10 million. So part of you goes, if I could buy a bar in Fishtown 20 years ago, I would. But I can't travel back in time. But here's a neighborhood just north of Fishtown where you see the Fishtown kids moving in.
Right.
And it might never be Fishtown, but it doesn't have to be Fishtown to make this a good investment long term.
Hey guys, just a quick pause from the show. If you're listening to this episode and you're thinking, man, there's a lot more that goes into buying or selling a business than you initially realized, you're not wrong. But that's exactly what we help with here at the Turn Business Advisors. So whether you're exploring buying a business, considering a sale, or just want some guidance before making a decision, feel free to visit theturnbusinessadvisors.com to see if we can help. All right, now let's get back to the show. Gotcha. So that local expertise played a huge role, just knowing the area.
Or, well, for me, you just follow your gut, too. Like, you look
Yeah.
around, and, again, I know the bar business fairly well, but you also just look, like, what's going to be the next area that will get a little wealthier, a little younger, because young people go out more, they spend more money, they're not hungover if they stay out here till 2, like old people like I am.
Yeah.
So that's what you're shooting for. And if you had more money or were smarter than me, you'd probably hire some kind of research company or do some kind of... And I did go online and look at some of the stats for the neighborhoods and for the bar business. But yeah, it's you're still making a gamble, right?
Sure.
It's a bit of a dream. That's buying any business, I think. You know?
Well, and so you did it yourself. Obviously, you are an attorney, so that is beneficial. But you're not a specifically M&A attorney,
No.
so you're not necessarily doing acquisitions all the time. But obviously, it does help. But doing it yourself, like you said, do you look back and maybe wish you did more research, or do you think like, because at this retail price point, typically, most buyers are kind of acting somewhat independently. What do you think? Having done it yourself, pretty much.
Would I like to have done more research? Yeah, I mean I wish I had more knowledge. Maybe you wouldn't have bought it. Maybe you lowballed it. Maybe you would look for other bars in the area. I don't know. But like most things, you brought up being a lawyer. Like I learned in law school, at some point studying for an exam, you do as much work as you can, and then you stop because it's time to take the exam, and there's only so much you can do.
Sure.
Same with this place. I talked to this guy a lot. I did some research myself. I didn't have $50,000 or 6 months to pay, or $20,000 in 6 months to pay some company to do the research for me.
Right.
And this guy was getting antsy. He was basically, at one point you got to go, okay. We got down to brass tacks, and he said, as is, $440. That's what I want. You don't want it?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I'll find someone else or just open it back up when we can myself. So I think you always want more time and more research. I always read McDonald's does a massive amount of research before they put a building up. Mm-hmm. But that's a multi-billion-dollar corporation that probably has a whole division that does nothing but research on McDonald's locations. I do not have that.
Yeah. Well, and you did buy the property here and the liquor license.
So this included the building and the liquor license and all the fixtures that were here. So it did, bar stool. I didn't have to replace the bar stools; they were here. So it did come with some stuff that was relevant. The TVs, I think 2 of them I replaced. But yeah, so there was, it was the building and the liquor license. And in Philly, liquor license is probably worth these days $175, $200.
Yeah, so there's intrinsic value there.
Yeah, so half of it was a license, which you could sell independently, and the other half is the building, which, if the wheels fell off, you could sell the license, get half your money back, and you could flip this. It's a big place. You could flip this place into a nice house if you wanted to.
Sure.
So you knew that, of course, your goal was to generate cash flow, but it was an equity play. Like you kind of had the idea.
Well, both. So I looked at it from this point of view. One, I wanted a second revenue stream, which we haven't gotten to yet because I put the kitchen in, and that's been, sucking all my profits out. But again, I think is a long-term good investment. But also, it's a 25-year note, so you get 20 years left. I'm 56. In theory, if I can keep this thing going, I'll be 65, 75 years old and have an asset that might be worth $1 million, or more. Refinance it, pull some money out of it. You could just take that mortgage payment and put it in your pocket, or sell it, and hopefully, that's a nice little retirement chunk right there too.
Yeah. So just hedging the cash flow play with knowing that it at the very least would have been an equity play in 20 years as the appreciation came. And
I think there's a bar down the street called Fazzone's that's for sale right now, by the way, if you're interested in the bar in Philadelphia. $850, I think, or $899, right around just shy of $900,000. He's got it selling for, and it's about the same size as this one, and he's got the upstairs space. So if you took an $850, $900,000 sale here, I think we're under $400,000 on the loan at this point in time. So I mean, you're getting your money back.
Sure.
And not as much as you'd like, but you're getting your money back. So
Yep.
it's not like this was a loss
Yeah.
as an investment. Also, I'm a lawyer, so when I'm 65, 75 years old when I retire, that practice is worth zero. It's just me, like being a doctor. You don't really sell law practices too often. If you do,
Sure.
it's not for much.
yeah,
So, that's what I thought about too. If I'm 65, 70 years old, if I don't have a lot of money in the bank, what do you have that's of value that you could sell if you really wanted to retire or leave to your kids? So this place, in theory, will be worth $1 million-ish. I have a life insurance policy out myself that'll pay off the loan if I die before the loan's due. So it's got some value. Where the law practice, I can make money. I couldn't sell it for a darn thing tomorrow
yep, makes sense.
because it's me specific.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I guess the big question is always, and it's okay to say a little of both, but would you buy it again, knowing what you know
I
now?
don't know. I don't know if it'd be a lawyer again looking back to what I did. I mean, because there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
I love the bar, okay, but it sucks up 7 days a week, and it's phone calls at 2 a.m., and, we're at a change, or the French fries ran out. Jesus, there's part of French fries 2 days ago. What the hell happened to all the French fries? So that's a pain in the butt, right?
Sure.
That being said, if this place got up to the profitability I want to, that'd be great, because my whole idea there was to be a nice savings, basically, and if you have a bad month at the law practice, you dip into this money. But if the place was profitable and took care of itself and put a couple bucks in my pocket, well, then the work's, you feel good about the work that you're doing.
Did you think about the potential more work than what you were expecting when you bought the place?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I grew up in this business. I was 18 years old I was 16 years old the first time I got a job in a kitchen, but 18 first time I ran or worked at a bar. And I know it's this business, there's nothing here that you couldn't learn in about 10 minutes. On the other side, there's about 7 million things you need to know.
Yeah.
Right? And you better be able to answer them over the phone for the most part.
Right.
Otherwise, you have to live here. So it's not brain surgery, but there's just a lot of things that happen when you get the CO2's not working, the soda's not working, the Miller Lite's not working. Okay. Walk
Here's the
downstairs,
steps.
let me walk you through it. This is what you got to do. Check these
Yep.
3 things. The hope, of course, was that I get busy enough eventually to hire a manager and not have to do all of that yourself. But I don't think, if people are listening, if you've owned a business before, no one cares about your business the way you care about your
sure.
You're not going to get a manager or an employee who gives a damn the way you give a damn, because it's your baby.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so if someone was where you were when you started looking, what would be your advice to them? If they're right now kind of in a similar spot, what would be things you would say, make sure you look out for this, but, the positive side is X, if that makes sense.
Well, the first thing I'd say is make sure it's something you want to do, because it's going to take a lot of time,
Yeah.
no matter what you buy. I mean, I wouldn't buy an accounting firm, even if there was one for sale that I could afford, because accounting bores the heck out of me.
Yeah.
It's important. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Coming to a bar, watching the Eagles games and Flyers games and drinking sounds like a hell of a lot of fun to me. So this is something I could put some time into. And also understand the risk. Like when I bought this place, I knew I could sell it if I had to.
Right.
And even though I might take a loss, I hopefully wouldn't take a big loss and could probably get my money back. So what kind of risk you taking? I don't know if I'd buy, for a while there was those, when I was young, the Pizza Hut franchises in Target and what have you were for sale.
Yeah.
And I remember they were really easy to get into. And there was Einstein Bagels. That was a big thing too. You could manage Einstein Bagels, and then they'd take a third of your pay, and that was basically a lease to own. So you ran it for them for 5 or 8 years. And I was always like, I don't really want to own an Einstein Bagel.
Right, yeah.
And nothing wrong with Einstein Bagels. They're
Yeah,
great
it's not for
bagels.
you.
I love them.
Yeah.
But I don't want to run a bagel shop,
Yeah.
And same with the Pizza Hut franchise. I get that you're selling Pizza Hut and Target, and it's kind of in theory, a low-risk thing. But it's also, I don't think the top end was going to be where you want it to be. This place, for me, it's a business I like. I did my homework as best I could as to whether or not the price was right. And long term, I think the sky's the limit for something like this. I could fix up the second floor if the place gets busier. You could move the liquor license somewhere else if this neighborhood never took off. So what's your what do you like? What are you passionate about, I guess?
Yeah.
And do as much homework as you can. Because if you don't know the business, like my accounting firm example, I couldn't tell you where accounting firm should start up. Would Philadelphia be better than in the sticks? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea. So have some idea of what you want and see if you can get there. And also, it's a risk. There's always a risk.
Right.
But it's not like going to the casino and gambling. You're gambling on an asset or something that has value that somebody else might buy.
Yeah.
So it's not as big of a risk as.
And you have control over it at least, right?
Yeah.
You can't inject more time or more, hopefully not too much more capital, but you can put more resources towards it to give it a better shot.
Oh yeah,
being successful.
Well,
yeah.
I could shut the kitchen down today, and this place would be profitable. The bar itself is profitable every day, all day long, every month. There's money here, period. But my vision is that I'd like a corner bar that's got some good food too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have some control over what you want to do.
And make sure you kind of like what you're potentially going to do as well, because you're going to be spending more time in it than maybe originally thought. So if you just buy something based on pure cash flow, you could be kind of stuck in a pickle. So kind of when you bought this, you're like, I know it's going to be work, but I do really enjoy the idea of owning the bar, and I already know the industry. So cause a lot of people that we work with are kind of just chasing cash flow. And, it seems like for you knew that there was going to be some work to put in, and you wanted to make sure you liked the business at the very least before kind of looking into the financial part of it.
I'd agree with that. And also, to your point, like someone in my position was somebody that did not have a lot of money in the investment portfolio or the grand scheme of things. I had a couple good months at the law firm, and I could have parked that in an investment account or bought something, and I bought something. Warren Buffett is chasing cash flow and doing a really good job at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I doubt he's ever worked a shift at Apple or Coca-Cola or the other businesses that he bought.
Right.
But Warren Buffett also had a massive amount of money to invest and has a massive amount of money to invest, so he can just do stuff on paper. If you're going to put 10% of $440,000 down and keep X amount of bucks aside to remodel the place, you're probably, like I said, I did the ceiling myself. Like I didn't have, not cut corners, but I cut costs wherever I could because I didn't have a deep pocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're going to do something the way I did it, which is not, I didn't have $1 million to throw at something and then ignore it for 5 years and make sure management took care of it here. I had to be here day in and day out. I think you do have to find something that you like. Because as much as I don't want to be here 7 days a week, when I have to be here 7 days a week, it's an environment I enjoy, and it's an environment that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's important.
And when you were, because there's always kind of that, I don't want to say last moment, but that period where, okay, now it's going to be real. I'm actually going to, sign the documents, make the investment. And you had owned a business that you started for, almost 2 decades, right? Was there still a, hefty amount of kind of fear of the risk?
Oh, good God, yeah. I remember going to closing, the whole day, you're like, because you write those checks.
Right.
That being said, I remember coming in here, this building, as soon as I closed, because I came right back here. The closing was up in Allentown. I came back here, and you walk in, and you're like, all right, this is cool. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Now, it's not always fun. It's not always cool. But, yes, because the other end of it, you go, I could have taken that money and put it in a basic E-Trade account or something like that, and it might have, had 50% more value, and I would have got my nights and weekends back. So what do you want to do? I mean, how do you want to spend your time? Owning a business isn't for everybody, I don't think.
No.
And if you think you're sitting there, a business like this especially, you're sitting in your office 300 miles away watching cash flow over 6 bars in Philadelphia, that's...
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's going to work well for you, because this is one of those businesses you have to be on the ground and see what's going on. Bartenders steal. Things get broken.
Right.
There's fights. You just got to keep an eye on food quality control. And not that I'm here 24/7, because I'm not. But I think it's important that I might pop in anytime, and that matters.
Sure.
So, yeah, I guess there are probably, I don't know what kind of companies you could buy if you have a small budget where you wouldn't have to be there a whole heck of a lot. But I'm sure there's some out there. This isn't one of them.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think it's good for people to hear if they are listening, they're thinking of, especially if this is their first entrepreneurial experience, that you already had that experience, but you still had that, man, is this the right call?
Oh, of course. You don't know.
So,
you can fail.
So,
you can fail.
Right.
Businesses fail.
Yeah.
That's true. But then again, if you're thinking about buying a business, you a little probably disenchanted with being a lifetime employee for somebody.
Yeah.
And there really isn't any other option that I'm aware of except for marrying someone with a lot of money. which I've never done.
Not yet.
Not yet. Probably not ever again, Steve. With this gut, that's probably flown out the window. But no, you're right. Yeah. So if you're sitting there, is there risk? Of course there's risk. It'd be safer to keep your job with whoever you've been working for that you probably don't like or probably doesn't interest you anymore. And would you rather be, feel like you're doing something and lose rather than doing something your whole life? I didn't want to wake up at 55, and I'm 56 now, 55, 65 years old in a cubicle somewhere going, this has been my whole life. This isn't what I want.
Yeah.
5 years into it, this place still hasn't, it's not killing it from a cash flow point of view, but it's doing well as a business.
Yeah.
And I did that. So that's fun.
Right.
Again, more fun than sitting in my cubicle going, well, I get to retire in 9 years, and I like that. I'd rather prefer to do that. I think if you're looking to buy a business, you probably have that same feeling.
Yeah.
Is it scary? Of course it's scary.
Yeah.
If you were your first at-bat at a Major League Baseball team, you'd probably be scared walking up to the plate. But you can't play the game if you don't take the swing.
Yeah.
If you want to win the World Series.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You want to be starting quarterback for the Eagles, you got to throw a ball in college, and then it's everything worth doing to me is a little scary, but that's where the fun comes in too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's great.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much it. Any last thoughts that, for someone buying a business?
Quiz on Wednesday, karaoke Thursday and Sunday. Come on down and ask me whatever you want.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thanks. And until next time.
Until next time, guys.
Good talking to you guys.
All right, that's it for today's episode, and thank you for tuning into the Business Sales and Acquisitions podcast brought to you by the Term Business Advisors. As you're listening to this show, if you can think about anybody who is either in the market to buy a business or considering a sale, feel free to share this episode with them if you think it will help. That's ultimately why we put this information together, to help give some insights on how the process really works. With that being said, we'll see you on the next one.